I'm always in favor of expressing yourself. So in this case, as the questioner asks, I love my parents, but I can't express it to them because they had an agenda for me. They wanted some things from me, and I failed them. So what does that mean? What it means is I feel shameful. They wanted something from me. I couldn't do it. I failed. The questioner also said I cheated. So not only did I fail in what they wanted from me, but I also failed myself as a human being of integrity. I cheated and I failed. It's one thing to cheat and win. It's another thing to cheat and fail. In either case, the cheating stings you and harms you and brings the negative karmic fruit. But to cheat and fail is kind of this double whammy of shame. And what shame does is it becomes so pervasive. Shame doesn't just say, you were not good in math. Parents maybe, I don't know what the agenda was, the question didn't mention it, but let's say, for example, that the parents had an agenda, that you would be a scientist or a doctor or an engineer, something that required you to learn math. And let's just say you couldn't do it, and you cheated. You looked over at your friend's paper, you did something to cheat, but still you failed. Shame tells you that not only did you fail math, but you're a failure of a human being. And that's why you can't express yourself, because shame keeps us from even being able to look up and see people in the eye. It makes us feel that who we are as a being, every aspect of us, pervasively, is wrong, is bad. And shame also a lot of times has not only a sense of pervasiveness in space, like all of me is bad, but it also tends to have a pervasiveness in time. I always have been bad. I always will be bad. There is nothing redeemable about me as a being. And that's where it's so important, no matter how hard it is, to pull yourself out of that mental framework, out of the framework that says you don't deserve to hold your head up. You can't tell them that you love them because, look, you failed. Now, I don't know what type of parents you have, because parents are humans, and humans are all different. Ideally, in a perfect world, I would be able to tell you, don't worry, sweetheart. Your parents are going to say they love you anyway. Your parents are going to support you anyway. Yes, they had an agenda, you couldn't do it. Don't worry. Nonetheless, they're going to support you. But I don't know that. Because there's a lot of people in the world who are parents, but who are still so stuck in their own dramas, who are still so stuck in their own stories and their own challenges and their own fears and their own egos and their own anger and their own illusions and ignorance, that they cannot say that. There are parents who need you to behave a certain way, to look a certain way, to dress a certain way, to be a certain way, for them to feel okay. I wish that in the same way we had to take a test to drive a car, right? I mean, you have to take a test to drive a car because they understand that a car has the possibility of killing other people. If you drive it incorrectly, you kill people. You kill yourself, you kill others. So you have to take a test. You have to pass a test. You have to prove that you know how to drive a car. But sadly, there's no test you have to take to become a parent. If I were in charge of the universe, I would make there be a test that parents had to take. Some level of personal awareness. Some level of personal introspection that would enable them not to be perfect by any means, not to be enlightened or awakened. We wouldn't set the bar very high. But simply parents who had the ability to understand this child is not here to help my social standing in society. This child is not here to do the things that I wanted to do in life and I couldn't, so I'm going to make my child do them for me. My child is not here as an extension, a physical extension of me, to be exactly the way that I want them to be. They're not a dress-up doll. But there isn't that test. So I'm not able to sadly tell you exactly what your parents are going to say. But what I would say is, whatever they say, it doesn't matter. Because at some point in all of our lives, we reach a point where we realize our parents did the very best they could. They did the best that they could with the toolbox that they had. Some parents have very full toolboxes, full of patience and compassion, understanding, personal grounding, some spirituality. And then they have those tools to parent with. But some parents don't have those tools. Their toolbox is full only with fear and anger, impatience, frustration, ignorance. And so that's what they parent with. But even they are doing the best that they can with their toolboxes. And there comes a point in every one of our life, regardless of how full or how empty our parents' toolboxes were, at which point we need to run our lives. At which point we need to stop saying, I am this way because my mom, or I am this way because my dad. In which we are able to say, I know that I deserve my space on planet Earth. I know that I am full, I am whole, I am complete, I am perfect, I am divine. Regardless of what they've told me. I know that I am here on earth for a beautiful divine purpose, regardless of how stupid and worthless they may have told me that I was. I know that. Because the truth, the capital T truth, comes from God, not the mouth of an exasperated, scared, confused parent. And so we forgive them. We forgive them. And we grow up. And we stop looking down and stop feeling like we can't hold our heads up and stop feeling full of shame. Just because they had an agenda for us, created out of whatever created their agenda. Maybe you weren't able to fulfill it. But are you able to fulfill God's agenda for you? God isn't worried about what your career is going to be or what score you're going to get on a math test. Are you able to be the fullest, the truest, the most awake, alive, grounded, anchored, courageous, connected you on earth? That's your only core job. Can you do that? hold your head up. Tell them you love them. Even if what you get in response is you are worthless, you're a failure, you've embarrassed us, you've disappointed us. Your truth is that you love them. So tell them. Make sure to tell them. Speak your truth. And if they can't hear it, it's their loss. And if you can't say it to them physically, close your eyes. Sit in your mandir, close your eyes and just tell them there, I love you, Mom, I love you, Dad. I'm sorry you can't see me for the perfection that I am. But know that your calling on earth is to be the most sincere, most true, most anchored and grounded tool, instrument in the divine's hands that you can be. Sometimes it aligns with our parents' agenda. Sometimes it doesn't. But that's the nature of the universe. But your truth of love is something you should absolutely express. Let go of the shame. There is nothing to feel shameful about.